Hey, muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. And as always, muchísimas gracias to everyone for your guys' words, time, most importantly, your prayers. Desde el corazón se los agradezco. Thank you. And before I get into the story at hand, do like, share, and subscribe. And do excuse my absence these last few days since the last live. Things got complicated, bad, terribly bad, right? I was in the hospital and, well, they couldn't disconnect me off that breathing machine because I went right back and they was talking about me not being able to walk up the hospital again. But, after it was worse than mosquitoes, the doctors with them trying different things on me and, God's amazing and I'm here, so thank you. But to get into the story at hand, right? I want to close up on the other incident that I personally, you could say, had somewhat in luck when it came to the Pili Coño. And this was much later after the first one where I was already with Sana. And I want to leave this episode, or however you want to call it, with a question, right? Which is, what do you guys think is the correct way to handle business as a pili, right? Towards his gente. But again, I was with Sana, and when we were there, the functions of moving things and the scale that you do in the feds is much bigger than what we see in Cali, because there's a lot more factors weighing in and participating, right? But like I stated, Coño, he had a unique reach for his family, or however, which I also think cricket first in luck, right? And at this time, he was utilizing, as I mentioned, a lot of battles from MS and a lot of homies, right? But he had that reach when it came to Arizona, New Mexico, and most importantly, he was opening avenidas with different races, which is allowed, right? It's different in the feds, at least when it comes to las calles, excuse me. But this entails Sana and them doing things. They were starting to be utilized that chipping method, for those that don't know, right? And but they were well aware of it. For example, my family personally didn't like to deal with it because it came with a lot of moving. It wasn't straightforward, right? For example, if they knew how to work the feds, they did it right, because everything you chip gets looked into. Now they let it slide to base something on it. That's a different story. So whoever's hip to doing it have different methods to get around that, right? But nevertheless, in this, they had some Dominicanos. They were reaching out to me in New York, and one was sitting on the feria, right? He had gotten whatever he got and was just playing the part when it came to getting the feria back. So the way I was approached was through a Wheeler or Namapil and Sana, right? Basically to see if somebody I knew from the family had a runner out there, right? That can do the favor to pay a visit to them, because again, it was the chipping method, so addresses were there, right? So I reached out and nah, they when it came to my family, they tried to stay clear of them areas for the same reason. There's a lot of things coming in and out from Rico, from Dominican, from different angles that you have a bigger chance of them sitting on things, because that fake fear factor that Billy's have, at least with camaradas or those that are well aware of them, ain't there with Dominicanos, Cubanos, you know, or the fear that Hal is going to be stopped, right? Because again, there's different avenues. Nevertheless, coño, he put two vatos, but it was de la Nacional, right? Not Cali. And his other avenida had to do with vatos from New Mexico. And this specifically thing, it was someone with the Padillas, because they had something, right, to gain from it. And of course, Sana, so Sana basically asked who was being utilized by other Pilis to see if he could tag along. So of course, I did what I was told, like we're supposed to, our camarada, right, from La Puente went out there, and basically they went out there and they were gonna pay a visit and recollect the feria. So they went out there and it got ugly for them. The vato was dead, locked on, sitting on whatever he was gonna sit on, because for whatever reason, right, felt the material wasn't up to par, or he did what a lot of vatos do, which is get it and feel they didn't get their worth, so okay, then they sit, right? They feel they have nothing negative coming their way. But I guess he was tied to people out there too, from La Calles out there in New York, and I couldn't even start to tell you how they function, right? Because I'm a Cali boy in the system of California and the feds, but out there's just different thing, different animal too. They got into it, and to not make it too long, they ended up getting what they went out there to do. But when they were leaving New York, they got rounded up. They had their guard down, as one shouldn't, right? When you're in a different territory. But I guess the vato from EME, that was his angle, right? Or his area. So he was more confident out there. But, that's something you don't do. And not just as a campolero or whoever. You go out, you have feria that ain't yours, and you're to hit whatever the means to get it they went through was their thing. But you don't make time with the feria like MS Vatos. They invite you to a little borlo, whatever, fiesta, and you do so while you're under responsibilities. So in this fiesta, I guess, MS out there has enemies. And all these three camaradas, they ended up getting smoked, right? They got their lives taken, and all of a sudden the feria just poof disappeared, right? They couldn't reach out no more. It just so as a pili or whatever, what do you do with it? They got ran up by a different gang out there and whatever. No, nobody saying nothing, so you just lost. In this case, was a good chunk, right? 80, about 80K, and misunderstandings came from the beginning. I honestly believe that it was the same bots from MS out there that took care of that and then made up something to coño, right? To because there was misunderstanding in the sense of payment. Coño wanted to give a 10% and Sana wasn't with it. It's like taking feria out of his pocket. And that avenue from Nuevo Mexico was was with it, but again, it was misunderstandings among Billies, right? But the main goal was to get the feria out there. But the Vatos lost their life, right? For those that know the homie from La Puente did a lot of fed time, right? And they called him Popeye from La Puente, and he was a good soldado, but he got utilized to the point where he didn't use his right judgment. It's easy to undermine what one knows. This includes myself, right? I went against what I knew better of a lot of times, and it turned out bad. Nevertheless, Coño was responsible for this, so he said I would eventually make up for it. Cause again, he had that feria coming in good, right, from different angles. So, the vatos from New Mexico, they were with it. It was some cajes del jale. There are things that happen that you need, like I mentioned, you need to be well aware of and prepared for. But you see, that old man from OC wasn't with it. He didn't want that loss. He didn't want a percentage that Coño was offering. He wanted what his full payment. So, you know, this was a big thing before everything hit the fan with the Ranfla Nacional, right? Which he had a little homie right there where we were at from MS, Creeper, I believe. He went and he had a couple vatos removed from MS. A lot of people always talk about the loyalty from the homies from California and the disagreements that they have, right? But at the end of the day, if they were on the streets, they're all MS. But, he had improved his thing, and for no apparent reason, he had vatos whack from MS. And of course, there's little incidents, as I would tell you, that happened with MS, that you could see where their anger came from, later down the line. That's basically where the question I want to say comes in, right? Everyone always asks me to speak about a good beating or one of the worst beatings. That old man from OZ had his good moments and bad, right? It comes with human human nature, right? Not everybody could be one way always. Nevertheless, he got more angry and had already stated it on the yard that whoever came from a mess that wasn't from Cali was gonna get hit and their win was gonna be removed. No buts or ifs. And to throw limit to that cut, Coño basically reached an agreement with whoever he was functioning with that was under the Padillas and Nuevo, that it was just right that they send them on that mission, so they should get some feria together for their burial, right? Their bodies getting respect and son of what was and having it. It's part of the job. They're in so many words throwaways, right? They do what we say, forget about their career or what they've done so far is they fail, which is what you see now amongst a lot of the decisions when it comes to taking camaradas out. They send people to do a hit and they tell you I want so and so to be hit 20 times, but you're only able for CEOs or the gunners, however, to hit him 19 times. You didn't do the holler right. So go ahead and cut his jugular too. You see the little nitpicking favoritism. Kasana wasn't like that, I guarantee it 100%. With homies from his county. I was there. Yeah, I was a sideliner. I was a sureño. But so obvious. So the little misunderstanding amongst Coño and Sana happened. And, on the DL, Coño does something positive. Like, try to act responsible, right? With the people underneath him. Which is why probably, or he, has so many people that's with him, right? But at the same time, he had the homie, little gangster from Astro, Orange County, hit for no reason. He stated he disrespected the peer by having music or something to that effect, talking. But a lot of people spoke up that it wasn't true. It was just a silent message to be sent to Sana, right? But Coño was about making feria. But you see the same amongst a good and a negative feeling. Another day they utilize their power and they send messages to one another, but getting rid of camaradas. I never hear when they move on them, oh, he's done this, he's done that, he put in this. They're above that. That's not important. Everyone, even myself at this time, were replaceable. If you weren't worthy, a walk in the yard, which nowadays stands for what you can make in feria and dope. So the question is that, which one you guys think is the right approach to take towards Camarada Coño's angle or Sana's angle? I know they both did something negative, but it's what you see in the feds. A lot of more money is being moved. A lot of different people are being utilized for to open up new doors. If you guys get what I'm trying to say. But the same end goal, you could sacrifice whatever. In this case, all these three vatos, they were free to do their bit, to do their life. I did my time, I te ves, right? Instead, they put the freedom on the line to do them a favor and be responsible as whatever they were. The vato from New Mexico to be loyal to the Padillas, and the other two, one to coño, and the other one to the causa, our causa, right? And they both got the same man. You guys think Hermes wasn't angry when they found out on Sana's yard, or the yard he was on, that whoever landed, no butts or ifs, no good, bad paper, they were gonna get hit, period. Being guy behind something that went wrong, that's part of, right? And then you see these little child games on sending messages back and forth, and by taking out each other's, I'm not even gonna say soldados because that's a strong word in the feds, but homies from their area, just because they're from that area. You see how little these individuals minimize regardless of gente, because they can. So don't, you know, go out your way, turn something that's just not there. Everything circles back around to their pride. Because I guarantee you, if they were on the same yard, they could touch each other, but they wouldn't. Because they're smart. You see a snake knows what they can and can't do to protect themselves. Most importantly, they know what's going to stop from that to come in. Because I guarantee you, none of them is afraid to get hit. Because that comes with the territory, right? But to lose their power, their dope, their feria, that's what the game is now. So be wise, be smart, enjoy your freedom. I know everyone that belongs to a neighborhood eventually, goes to juvie, YA, prison. But don't get caught up in that tornado where not just, the system has it out for you to be returning, but this individual will constantly put you in a cross that there's no end goal there. You're not gonna gain nothing for it. But the loss of family, I mean, that's why I'm on here's a perfect example. But I'll leave that question open. Do excuse this ain't too long. Again, I'm just getting back home, and I need to shake the hospital by taking a shower and just, hopefully maintaining. Because I don't want to go back. It was a mission this time, for a lot of reasons. But I thought I would continue with the message. Hope I made sense. If not, do excuse me. In the overall run, let me just say this. Coño, streets is, something to discuss, but I ain't the right person. Thank you again, Gabe Morales and Cricket, and those for your experience. My utmost respects. With this, I'll conclude. I send my love, prayers. Please stay true to yourself and always loyal to family.